Ladies and gentlemen, you love starting, don't you? That feeling you get when something is new. The excitement, the adrenaline, the daydreams of what could be. It feels good. You announce your goals, you post them, you even buy the gear. But here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. Starting is easy. Finishing is rare. Everybody can start. Everybody can post the first video, write the first page, go to the gym on January 1st. But not everybody keeps showing up on day 50 when no one's clapping, when the hype is gone, when it's just you, your discipline, and your reason why. You see, anybody can be loud at the starting line, but only the few who finish get remembered. There's no medal for halfway, there's no reward for almost. The power isn't in the idea. The power is in the follow-through, and I'm telling you right now, if you want to separate yourself from 97% of people, just finish what you start. That's it, because most people can't, most people won't. They're addicted to the spark, but allergic to the process, and let's be real, it's easy to dream big when the path hasn't punched you in the mouth yet. It's easy to be confident before the obstacles come, but finishing isn't about being the most talented. It's about being the most committed. It's about who can keep moving when the passion fades, who can still grind when the crowd is gone. You have to be the type of person that finishes because you said you would, not because it's still fun. That's where growth lives. That's where transformation happens. You know what separates the people who almost made it from the ones who actually do. One thing, they finish. The winners don't always have more talent, more time, or more resources. What they have is grit. They have the ability to finish what they said they'd do, period. When life gets inconvenient, they don't stop. When emotions shift, they don't flinch. They stay the course. You've got to be willing to cross the finish line without applause. You've got to train your mind to complete the mission, even when no one's watching. People will hype you up when you start, but they'll respect you when you finish. That's the difference. Starting gets attention, but finishing earns honor, and I promise you there's a whole different level of self-respect that comes from knowing you didn't give up when it got tough. It's not about proving it to them. It's about proving it to you. Because every time you quit on yourself, you send a message to your brain that you can't be trusted. But every time you finish, no matter how messy, no matter how late, you're telling yourself, I show up, I don't break my word, I do what I said I would do. That's power, that's rare, that's what changes everything. You keep waiting for motivation like it's some magical fuel that'll carry you to the top. You think the reason you haven't finished is because you're not inspired enough, not fired up enough, not emotionally ready. Let me wake you up right now. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Motivation will lie to you. It will cheat you. It will disappear when you need it most. But discipline is loyal. Discipline shows up on cold mornings, on tired nights, in storms, in silence, in suffering. Motivation might get you to start, but only discipline will keep you going. The truth is, some days you won't feel like it. Some days you'll wake up and not want to do the work. Some days life will hit you hard. The schedule won't go as planned. You'll be frustrated, distracted, exhausted. That's when most people stop. That's when most people say, not today, I'll pick it back up tomorrow. But the ones who win, they move anyway, they grind anyway. They push through not because they feel like it, but because they've trained themselves to do it regardless. They've burned the idea into their brain that feelings don't dictate their actions, commitments do. You don't need a lightning bolt of inspiration. You need structure. You need non-negotiables. You need to be so locked into your purpose that no mood can pull you away from your mission. Stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking yourself who you said you were going to be. Discipline doesn't come from emotion, it comes from identity. When you start acting like the person you want to become, even when it's uncomfortable, you start to become that person, and that person doesn't need motivation every day. That person doesn't check in with their feelings, that person checks in with the work. Do you know how champions are built? Not during the highlights, not during the record-breaking moments, they're built in the dark. They're built when no one's watching, they're built when the body is tired, the mind is doubting, and the soul is whispering, just stop. But they don't. They keep going because they've taught themselves that quitting is not an option. They've trained the muscle of discipline so hard that it kicks in even when the mind wants to shut down. Motivation is like a spark, it comes and goes. But discipline is like a furnace. It burns steady day after day, feeding off nothing but your decision to keep moving forward. The people who rely on motivation always burn out, but the people who operate from discipline, they're unstoppable, they're dangerous, because they can execute on demand, they can move without hype, they can grind without glory. And in a world full of people waiting to feel like it, the one who moves without feeling becomes the one who finishes, who dominates, who rises. You think the enemy is out there, the competition, the critics, the doubters. But the truth is, the most dangerous battle you'll ever fight is the one happening inside your own head. The real battle is with yourself. It's not about how many followers you've got. It's not about whether your friends believe in you. It's not about how many people cheer you on. It's about what happens when you're alone, staring at your goals, with nothing but your own voice to answer to. That voice will either fuel you or finish you. You've got to win that war. Every single day there's a version of you that wants to rise, and a version of you that wants to retreat. One says, let's go. The other says, let's wait. One says, show up. The other says, sleep in. And here's what they don't tell you. Every time you choose the weaker voice, you train your brain to trust it. You make that voice stronger. You give it permission to take over the next time things get hard. But when you push past that voice, when you move anyway, speak anyway, act anyway, you start to rewire your belief system. You start becoming the person who doesn't fold, and that's where true self, confidence is born. Not from praise, not from success. It comes from knowing that you showed up for yourself when no one else was watching. The loudest applause in the world can't replace the quiet moment when you say to yourself, I didn't quit. I didn't run. I kept my promise. That's what builds character. That's what builds resilience. That's what separates the people who want it from the people who become it. You don't need more outside support. You need more internal alignment. You've got to get to the point where your word means something to you. Not just when people are holding you accountable. Not just when your coach is watching. I'm talking about when it's you versus you. Will you keep going? Will you keep pushing even when there's no reward today? Because if you can beat yourself, if you can override your excuses, your doubts, your fears, there's nothing outside of you that can stop you. Look around. How many people do you know who can't even keep a promise to themselves? They say they'll eat better. They don't. They say they'll finish that project. They don't. They say they'll wake up early. They hit snooze. It's not that they're not capable. It's that they haven't learned to conquer the internal war. They're losing to the weaker version of themselves every day, and the longer you lose that battle, the more distant your goals become. Not because they're impossible, but because you've stopped believing you can actually follow through. This is where champions are born in that inner fight. The battlefield isn't in the gym, or the office, or the classroom. It's in your mind, in your habits, in those tiny decisions nobody sees, but you live with every day. You keep asking why things haven't shifted for you yet, why you're stuck, why progress feels slow, why every step forward feels like it's followed by 2 steps back. The truth is, it's not that you're not working. It's not that you're not trying. It's that you're not consistent. You do it for a few days, maybe a week, maybe even a month, but then you fall off, and that fall off, it costs you momentum. It costs you belief. Because consistency is the force that compounds power, it's the unsexy behind, the scenes grind that turns average effort into unstoppable progress. Most people don't lose because they didn't have talent. They lose because they couldn't stay consistent long enough to see the results stack. Let me tell you something real. Talent will take you to the door, but consistency is what keeps you inside the room. And I don't mean showing up when it's convenient. I mean showing up every single time you said you would, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when life is heavy, especially when it feels like it's not working. Because the work is working, just not always in a way you can see yet, but every rep, every session, every hour logged, it's building something in you, something stronger, something unbreakable. You see, success doesn't explode into your life overnight. It builds quietly. You're looking for the big breakthrough, but the truth is, breakthroughs are made out of 1,000 tiny steps that no one ever sees. That's the power of consistency. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's uncomfortable. And that's why it works, because while everyone else is chasing the next big thing, you're locking in. You're sticking to the plan. You're running your race like your life depends on it, and it does. Because your future is being built every single day, you stay committed to the process. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming, and those votes start to add up. You don't need perfection, you need persistence. You don't need intensity one time, you need integrity over time, because real transformation doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do consistently. People talk about success like it's some mystery. It's not. It's consistency multiplied over time, directed at the right target. That's it. That's the formula, and it doesn't matter how slow you move. What matters is that you don't stop. Because the longer you stay in motion, the more unstoppable you become. What felt heavy at first becomes natural. What scared you before becomes normal. What used to drain you starts to fuel you. That's the compounding effect of consistency. It turns discipline into dominance. It turns habits into identity. It turns goals into reality. And the only thing standing between you and everything you say you want is whether you can stay locked in long enough to let the compound effect do its work. You've got 1,000 reasons why it didn't happen. Why it's taking so long, why you're not where you want to be yet. And let's be real, some of those reasons are valid. Life hits. People disappoint you. Plans fall through. But here's the harsh truth nobody wants to say out loud. Reasons don't build results. Execution does. The world doesn't care about your excuses. Your goals don't care about your story. The only thing that moves the needle is what you do, not what you say. You can't deposit almost. You can't cash in I was about to. There's no trophy for I meant well. Only execution counts. You've got to stop telling yourself that you'll act when things get easier, because they won't. Life isn't going to give you the perfect conditions to win. You've got to learn how to execute in the middle of chaos, in the middle of stress, in the middle of discomfort. That's where the real growth happens. That's where the separation begins. The ones who wait for things to be perfect never launch, but the ones who move even when they're scared, even when it's messy, those are the ones who build momentum, and momentum creates change. You keep convincing yourself you need more information, more support, more time, but what you really need is more follow through. You've planned enough, you've prepared enough. At some point, you have to stop talking about what you're going to do and actually do it. Execution doesn't ask for your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, unmotivated. Execution says, let's go anyway. Execution doesn't give you room for debate. It gives you results. That's what separates the committed from the curious. Every time you make an excuse, you delay your destiny. Every time you justify slacking off, you're training your brain to believe that it's okay to quit. And the more you accept those little moments of laziness, the more you normalize falling short. That's the danger. It's not just about one skipped workout, one missed deadline, one late start. It's about what those missed steps represent. They represent a gap between what you said and what you did. And that gap is where dreams go to die. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is execution. Not potential, not passion. Execution. You could have all the vision in the world, but if you don't act, it means nothing. You could have the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, the best team. But if you don't move, none of it matters. You've got to be ruthless with your standards. If you said it, you do it. No negotiation. No delay. You move with urgency because you understand that life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. You either execute now or you fall further behind. People around you might applaud your ideas. They might say you've got potential. But at the end of the day, only results speak. Not noise, not promises, not almosts. Execution is the final word. It's the language of the elite. It's what separates the ones who dream from the ones who deliver. Most people don't fail because they didn't have the skill. They fail because they couldn't trust themselves when it mattered most. And that's the part no one wants to talk about. You can look confident, you can talk a good game, but deep down, if you know you break promises to yourself, you carry that weight everywhere you go. Finishing builds trust with you, and that trust, that's the foundation of every goal, every relationship, every breakthrough you'll ever have. When you finish what you start, not once, but repeatedly, you prove to yourself that your word has value, that your actions match your intentions, and that you're not the type to fold when it gets uncomfortable. You've spent your whole life trying to earn other people's respect, trying to impress your boss, your parents, your followers, but the truth is, none of that matters if you can't respect yourself, and self-respect doesn't come from how others treat you, it comes from how you treat you. Every time you say you're going to do something and actually do it, You're casting a vote for the strongest version of you. You're building credibility with the only person who will be with you for the rest of your life, yourself. Think about it. How do you feel when someone lies to you, when someone makes promises but never follows through? You stop believing them, you stop counting on them, you stop trusting them. Now apply that to yourself. Every time you quit on your goal, every time you talk big but act small, you're teaching your subconscious that your words are empty. You're reinforcing the idea that you're not reliable. And if you don't believe in your own word, how are you going to have the courage to chase that dream? To take that risk, to step into rooms where your confidence has to speak before you do? People keep asking, how do I build confidence? The answer isn't in affirmations or hype videos. The answer is, do what you said you'd do. Over and over and over. That's where real confidence is born. It's in the grind. It's in the quiet moments when no one's watching, but you push through anyway. It's in those late nights and early mornings when the only person holding you accountable is the one staring back at you in the mirror. When you finish, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when there's no applause, you're building something unshakable. That's how warriors are forged. You can read all the books. You can take all the courses, but none of it matters if you don't trust yourself to execute. That trust is earned, not in the beginning, not in the middle, but at the end, when the resistance is strongest. When the distractions are loudest, when everything in you wants to walk away and you decide to finish anyway, that's where the magic happens. That's when your identity shifts. That's when you stop talking about who you want to be and actually become that person. It doesn't happen with good intentions. It happens with finished work. It happens in those moments where you cross that line, when you finish what you promised yourself you'd finish, and suddenly something inside you clicks. Something unshakable, something powerful, something permanent, because now you know, when you say it, you mean it. When you start it, you'll finish it, and that self, trust, that's the fuel for every next level you're about to reach.